Hello, my name's Daniel. Today we'll be talking about the book Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art by James Nestor. James Nestor is an American sports and science journalist. He's the author of the book Deep, which is a book about freediving, and also the book Breath, which is the book I'll be talking about today. James Nestor talks about his book and what he's learned about breathing, the new science of a lost art, in several podcasts, including the Joe Rogan podcast. That's actually where I discovered James Nestor in this book. One day while the author was ill, his doctor recommended that he go take a breathing class. He's never done this before, so he goes to this room and he sits there and he breathes deep breaths for a long time. I doubt that he expected anything to happen because he was certainly surprised when at the end of this breathing session he was completely drenched in sweat. He goes back to his doctor and says, "What happened?" His doctor doesn't know what happened. He says, "Maybe you had a fever." And this curiosity led him to go to more research, led him to go through more experiments to find out what else about the breath do we not know? What did happen to me back there? James never planned on writing this book. It's just that his curiosity led him down a path to find more and more about this new science of a lost art. Man, this is an absolutely entertaining book. Yes, it is about research, and it is about science, and it is about history and things that he's learned, but he is a truly captivating author. He goes back between anecdote to history to science, back and forth, kind of weaving the story all together. He'll get partway through a real life event that he experienced, stopped, go through science, and you're like, okay, so I don't really see where he's going with that. And then bam, they'll meet at the crossroads and they'll both have everything to do with each other, and it's just this sine wave of storytelling, and he does it flawlessly, and it really keeps you turning the pages. James starts off talking about why we can't properly breathe. He talks about how our ancestors were able to breathe flawlessly. The author goes into why 500 years ago, people didn't have the same mouth problems, breathing problems that we have today. They didn't suffer from chronically misaligned teeth and chronic breathing issues as we do. The author explains that our food has all gotten much softer. We don't chew as much as we do. The muscles all in our jaws have gotten weaker, and they don't pull on our face the way that they used to. And that our face has actually changed shape, as we already know this, but we didn't exactly know why. We know that if we go back in the fossil record, that the shape of our faces has changed. With the foundation of his research laying, he now has more questions to ask himself. How did people breathe before we had all these chronic breathing problems? What was the lifestyle of people in the past, and why was that conducted to healthy breathing? Through his research, he found that we are a population of chronic mouth breathers, and that it does serious harm to your health. And so now the question is, where were we before we had this problem, and how do we get back to a healthy lifestyle of breathing? The book is broken up into 3 parts, the first part being the experiment, where he plugs his nose for 10 days and sees and analyzes exactly what happens to your body when you mouth breathe chronically. And it showed that he developed sleep apnea, snoring, high blood pressure, a decreased athletic performance, and also he felt generally miserable the entire time. In fact, he said that he will never do anything like that ever again. And then for 10 days after that, he breathed only through his nose, and his athletic performance went up, his sleep apnea went away, his snoring went away, and he just felt genuinely better. He said that the difference that he felt as soon as he took that first breath through his nostrils was incredible, and he can't believe that people are refusing to breathe through their nose every day. The second part of this book is called The Lost Art in Science. He goes through and finds characters throughout history who have already really discovered these basic ideas, because it is called The Lost Art in Science. Because what he says is that we have found these things out to be true over and over again. Somebody will say, why is this happening? Why are people having these troubles? Oh, here's the solution. Everyone will applaud, say that was great, that was the solution. And then they'll just forget about it. And it's happened time and time again. In The Lost Art in Science, he explains how important it is to have a complete exhale, Throughout the whole book, he'll discuss this oxygen CO2 ratio, what the balance should look like, and how you achieve that. Then he'll go into the process of breathing slowly and how we are all chronic overbreathers. We just are anxious and stressed, which causes, and we're just breathing way too much, which puts our whole system out of whack, giving us an imbalance in the oxygen CO2 ratio. He says that the ratio to breathing should be 5.5 seconds in and 5.5 seconds out. Also, which I feel like these two kind of went hand in hand, was breathing less. We have to get away from this hyperventilated culture where we're overbreathing, we're freaking out, we're anxious, and we need to breathe less. Slowly breathing out through your nose, possibly longer than your inhale would be. And the last part is called chew. He talks all about how our mouths are weak and misshapen because of that weakness, how we eat food that is too soft because of the processing of foods and the canning of foods, and how it is making us misshapen and deformed, and these muscles up in here are all weak and they cannot support proper breathing functions. James Nestor refers to people who are pioneers in the field of breathing back in the day, or even today, as pulmonauts. He says that they were the ones to really find these remedies, these solutions, and even though they were lost through time, it is now his job in writing this book and our job today to rediscover those techniques. He talks about people that have helped emphysema patients dramatically change their quality of life through breathing fuller breaths by expanding their lungs, something that people didn't believe was possible. These pulmonauts have been able to help people in many areas of life, not just health-wise, but also in athletics or in being able to sing, because your diaphragmatic breathing is very important when it comes to being able to project your voice for an opera singer or any singer. This book really does warrant a bit of your own research. It does say that people have been able to curb or cure things like ADHD, diabetes, and other chronic ailments just simply through breathing. And that's very controversial in today's age. Saying that something as simple as just taking a breath differently can cure these diseases that have been plaguing people's lives. These pulmonauts have discovered that many things like stress and anxiety are at least elevated by improper breathing. You get stressed out and your body freaks out a little bit, and then you overbreathe, which only exacerbates the symptoms, which makes you more and more anxious. And they found that people are able to curb or eliminate anxieties by simply breathing more slowly in fuller breaths. Breathing Plus goes through the more advanced breathing techniques. It follows the breathing gurus who claim that they can hack the nervous system, control the temperature of their body, control themselves in extremely stressful environments, stay in cold environments without getting hypothermia, stay in extremely hot environments without getting overheated. Wim Hof, a famous pulmonaut, is able to run through icy tundras without a bit of frostbite for long distances. He swims underwater in frozen lakes. Clearly, the frozen parts at the top, I understand, and the actual water is not frozen underneath, but you get the picture. It's cold, and he holds his breath for long periods of time. And his breathing techniques involves taking a full breath and he does that, and he says to do that for 30 times, 30 sets, and then he exhales, then he stops breathing for as long as he can. And people are able to do this for 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes long, and then he takes a deep breath in and holds it for 15 seconds, and he'll do this while swimming under these frozen lakes, okay? He really is doing these remarkable things, such as running through icy tundras or sitting in an ice bath. And they'll hook up all these sensors to his body, and it'll show that he's maintaining his core warm while being completely chilled by ice. The book Breath is full of data, it's full of history, it's full of science, it's full of practical breathing techniques. And yet, even though it's a science-driven health book or a lifestyle book, however you would say it, it's still extremely entertaining. He takes you through the lives of these colorful characters and showing you these breathing techniques. This is a starting point book. This is not something that you just read through it once and say, this is everything that I now know. No, this is to show you that there is some things about the breath, about breathing, that we have forgotten about or we don't know. And it does demand more research. This is a book that you read and then you practice these things afterwards for yourself. And then the proof will be in the pudding. If it works for you, then it does. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. But the burden of proof is completely on you to try these things yourself. I personally struggled with allergies, chronic sinus infections, chronic congestion. My sinuses are just basically garbage and don't work properly. And this is what drew me into that podcast that I first watched, which then drew me into this book. And I was enthralled the entire way from beginning to end reading this book. And I'm trying out the breathing techniques and I'm trying out these things that they've said. I'm trying to chew tougher foods in order to build up the muscles up here. I got one of those chewing things you put in the back of your teeth and then you just chomp down on it until your jaw hurts. I'm trying to see if these things work or not. Because what good is it to pick up a book that says, if you do this, your life will be different. If you do this, your life will be better. And then say, that's so good that I know that now. I'm going to put this book down and forget about it. No, it's absolutely an adventure from here on out. The time when you put this book down is the time that you stand up and you go forth and you try these breathing techniques and you try these different lifestyle things. Overall, Breath is extremely entertaining for such a science, data-driven book. It is very anecdotal, telling the stories of colorful characters, and bless you, and I've enjoyed this book from beginning to end. This book is for anybody who may be experiencing those chronic breathing problems, for somebody who has allergies or asthma or is just congested 24/7 like I am, or has a deviated septum. James Nestors says just through breathing, he was able to find new ways around his completely deformed, messed up nose, and now he can breathe no problem. The claims made in this book do seem great, and I'm not one to take things at face value, so certainly I'm putting them to the test. I'm going to see for myself the real value of the methods in this book. But so far, doing the simple breathing exercises, I have found that just ensuring that I'm not a mouth breather, that I'm breathing through my nose only. I have started taping my mouth shut at night, just a little strip of tape right here every night, keeping my mouth shut so that I'm not while I'm sleeping through the night. I have gotten better sleep than I've ever had in a long time. And these things are proving to be true in my own personal experience. And I'm just so excited about having read this book and having these tools in my tool belt now. And I will say that if you have these problems, or even if you don't have these problems and you want to learn more, that it is absolutely, certainly worth the read. Please, if you read this book, tell me what you think about it. Tell me if you think it's bogus, if you think that it really does hold water as it claims, if you've practiced the breathing techniques, what effects did it have on you? Were you able to change your life? Were you able to at least change a little bit about how you breathe? Have you noticed any benefits? I'm so glad I was able to share my experience reading this book with you. If you like the format of this video, if you like these book reviews, please subscribe for more book reviews. If you're a fan of my channel and want to see more, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like, tell your friends. I had a great time reading this book, making this video, and sharing what I've learned with you guys. Have an absolutely fantastic, wonderful day. Don't breathe through your mouth, breathe through your nose. Slow, deep breaths, slow down, don't hyperventilate. Take control of what we lost control of. Have an absolutely fantastic, wonderful day. I'll see you guys next time.